Greetings. Today I would like to introduce you to automated bin replenishment using advanced material management, or AMM. This setup will automatically send suggestions to the material request queue to refill bins. It's a handy tool for when you stock bins on the production/assembly line from a central stockroom or supermarket. If you don't have AMM, you can still use bin replenishments, and I will walk you through these options in future videos. To begin the automated bin replenishment with AMM, first we need to see if there's an auto replenishment type in Kanban type. There are some standard types available. In this case, I've got an auto replenishment, and the action on here is to do a warehouse bin replenishment auto. Now, you could also do a manual process if you want somebody to manually manage the requests as they go into the queue. In my case, it's just stocking some feeder or assembly lines, and I want it to happen automatically without me having to intervene in it. So now that that has been established that I have an auto replenishment type, I'm going to go into my favorite part here, which is the 1032K nut. And if I look at my sites on here, my default warehouse for this is floor stock main. So for this instance, I'm going to consider my floor stock main as either my stock room or my supermarket. And I'm going to go ahead and keep my minimum on hands in this location. In this case, I have 60,000 as my minimum on hand. And what I want to do is to automatically replenish my production floor location on this. So I'm going to go into warehouses and I'm going to add a new warehouse. And I'm going to go ahead and put this in my production floor. Actually going to go into the warehouse's detail on this just so we can see a little bit more. So I'm going to save this warehouse and I'm going to set this up for that auto replenishment. And I'm going to say I want my minimum quantity on hand as, let's say, 1,000, because that'll cover a day's worth of work. I can set a safety stock if I want. If the inventory drops below the quantity, Kinetic will just keep updating the existing replenishment request until that is fulfilled. So I'm going to put my threshold at 250. Maximum quantity, you don't need to set those. It will go out and look at what the demand is for this location. But in this case, I'm going to say that I can only hold 2,000. So I'm just going to go ahead and put 2,000 in there. And my replenishment Kanban quantity is how many pieces do I want to move as my initial replenishment, or in batches or lots, how I want to fill that. So I'm going to put 500 in there because that's maybe one box worth. And then you do have to set your primary bin. And this is how it drives moving all of the transactions. So I'm going to put this in my assembly area. And my supply is going to be that floor stock. And the bin for my floor stock is my A101. And I am going to go ahead and save this. Now, there is no need to run MRP to see these requests. If I go into the Replenishment Workbench, I'm just going to look at the stuff that is auto. I'm going to hit retrieve, and you can see that I don't have any records available. So that is because you need to have a trigger point to drop below your minimum. So what I'm going to do is do a material issue out of that bin just to drive things. Or you could do a quantity adjust and then adjust it back out. So I'm going to go into 1032K nut. And actually, I'm going to do this as a quantity adjustment first. So I'm going to do quantity adjust for my K nut. And I'm going to adjust this into my production floor. And I'm going to just go ahead and trigger 500 into my assembly bin because that's my primary bin. And I'm going to just call this adding a new part because I'm adding a new part to my floor stock or my production area floor stock. So I'm going to adjust this in. And now I'm going to go into this floor stock where I have my, not my floor stock, my production floor. And I'm going to go ahead and take that 500 out right away. I'm just trying to get a trigger for that bin. And I adjust it out. And now let's go into the Replenishment Workbench. And I can see that I am getting a request to do the 2,000 pieces from production to assembly. And that is based on the details that I set up in here. So my maximum quantity is going to be 2,000. I don't have any on hand, so it's fulfilling it to that maximum. And I can process this request. So I'm going to go ahead and check this box. If you have handhelds, this would show in the handheld queue. So I'm going to check that box. And I'm going to actually assign myself, and I am logged in as Charles. So now it's assigned to Charles. So now I'm going to go into my material request queue. And again, I could be on a handheld. And there are a lot of records here. That's because this is a test environment. But if I go to my selections, because it was assigned to me, I can see that I do have that request to move 2,000. And because the record is already highlighted, I'm going to go ahead and click process. And in this case, I am going to go ahead and look at this request. It's asking me to take 1032K nut, a quantity of 2,000. And then I need to take it from my floor stock or my supermarket stockroom, this bin, and I'm going to actually move it out to my production floor. So I am going to click OK that I processed it. So now if I go back to my part master and I refresh my record, I can see that I now have 2,000 on in my production floor in my assembly bin. And now that I have established that auto bin replenishment, if I were to go in, and I'm just going to do an issue miscellaneous material so you can see this in action. So if I issue miscellaneous material, and this is really what people would use if they were going to give, say, parts to engineering where you want to expense it to a department or something like that. So I'm going to take this out of my assembly bin, which is on my production floor, and I want to get this to drop below the minimum just so you can see how this works. So my minimum on hand is 1,000, so I have 2,000 in there, so let's take out 1,500. And then in here, this is where you can go ahead and put in the various types. So I'm going to say that I'm going to send these out to a trade show. So this will actually expense to the marketing department. And I'm going to hit save. So now if I go back to my parts and refresh this, I'm below my minimum. So I'm expecting to see a replenishment request for that. So if I go ahead and retrieve, here's another replenishment. Again, it's asking me to take care of 1,500 of those because I'm refilling to the max in increments of 500. So I will go ahead and check this and assign it again to myself. And then it will show up in my request queue again. And I can process it the same as I did before. So once you have that initial adjust in and adjust out, all of your replenishments will happen automatically. They do go to that replenishment workbench, and then you can assign them from there. And then you just have to have the people moving the material and processing the request, and then your bins will be replenished. Now, I did do all of these transactions in the Kinetic user interface using the browser. This is also available in the classic screens. So I hope you find the automated inventory replenishment another shiny tool for your toolbox. Thank you.